Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and to the Creative Inspiration series. Now, I know that digital compositing is not everybody's cup of tea, but it can be quite a bit of fun and a really nice exercise in creativity. It's not a very large portion of my work, but it is something that I enjoy doing now and again. Now, if you do enjoy that kind of work, I thought I'd make a video that showed some resources where one could obtain some free public domain assets that you can use for compositing into your imagery. Now, I'm not talking about typical free stock photography like Pixabay or Unsplash. Most people know about those. I'm talking about where one can download public domain historic images, the kind of imagery, old maps, old documents, old text, old daguerreotype, that sort of thing that can really add a bit of flair to your compositing. Let's get started. So this is the Pond 5 public domain project, and you can see down here that all this material is in the public domain and not subject to copyright. And this is a fairly unique site because they have historic footage as well as audio and images that you can use in your videos or for compositing into your artwork. So for example, these are all free and in the public domain. You would just click on it. It tells you what size image you're downloading, and they come in various sizes. And you can just go ahead and download that and use it in your artwork. The next three are in the Library of Congress, and that's a great asset to have. You can see, for example, here, Civil War glass negatives, daguerreotypes, Confederate images, and these actually are quite large files, and you can use images such as this in your artwork. And somewhere here about this item, here we go, rights advisory, no known restrictions on publication, can all be used in any kind of artwork or compositing you wish to do. Again, here's more daguerreotypes from the Library of Congress. All free for use, all can be composited into your artwork. And I love maps and have used maps to composite into artwork before. And again, Library of Congress, free to use and reuse maps of cities. We can click on one and it will tell you the various sizes, all the way up to a large TIFF that you can download and again use all or part of in your artwork. Here are free vintage illustrations, and again I'm going to put all these links to these websites in the video description, so no worries about keeping up and copying them down. So again, these are also all public domain images. For example, scientific illustration. Those can always be cool when composited in. And you can add it to the cart. Again, public domain vintage illustration, free to use for personal and commercial work with no copyright restrictions. And you can download any of these and use them as needed. The Smithsonian is another great asset. Here I've looked for maps because I just really like maps. So here's a map, for example. This tells you when it's from, 1784. Creative Commons, no rights reserved. And again, this can be downloaded, and it can be downloaded as a high-resolution TIFF, high-resolution JPEG. Really interesting stuff. I mean, this could work as a background texture in addition to the map. Lots of neat stuff you can do with this. The British Library on Flickr, another great resource. Download. Again, this will tell you, and you can get some pretty large file sizes from this site. And this is also all in material that is in public domain that you can use. And finally, here's a nice little article that tells you, and I'll put a link to this as well. It's called Public Domain Sherpa, and it'll tell you a lot of resources for historic images that you can use that are rights-free. So using just 5 or 6 of my own images, I'll show you examples of how compositing can run the gamut from almost no added assets other than the artist's own images to artwork where none of the image originally belonged to the artist. For example, in this image, everything and every part of it was photographed by myself, except for the smoke at the lower left and the little bit of sky at the upper right. In this photograph, the background image of the tree, the pasture, and the fence was taken by me. The birds were added in afterwards, as was the background texture, and the background text was taken from historic documents very similar to ones that could be downloaded from some of the asset sites that I showed you in the video. In this particular image, the photographic portion was photographed by myself, the part in the mausoleum and the trees. All the other parts of the image were composited in, some from sites similar to the ones that I showed you in the video, including where you can get text from, again, from historic documents, as in the upper right. So now we move into territory where most of the image is not mine. I took the photograph of the boats on the bay at the bottom of this image, but the remainder of it is all other images that were composited in, and you can see what I mean about liking maps that are downloaded from historic sites and available to use, just as in the websites I showed in the video. And finally, at the opposite extreme, in these last 2 photos, none of the assets that were used to make the final composite were either photographed or belonged to me originally, although they were all free of any copyright restrictions. Well, I do hope you found this information useful, and that if compositing isn't something you've tried before, maybe this will inspire you to give it a shot. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. If you have any questions about these assets or compositing, please leave them in the comments below the video, and I'll answer them as best that I can. I'm Howard, and my channel is about introducing viewers to photographers who inspire, to discussing all sorts of photographic topics, and to enhancing creativity with Lightroom and Photoshop tutorials. And if those topics sound interesting to you, I'd sure appreciate your support of the channel by having you click on that subscribe button below. We'll see you next time.